Let me ask you something. Have you noticed that life after 70 comes with a whole new set of rules? Some of them make sense, like slowing down when your knees say so. But a lot of the so-called rules just drag us down. And if you're anything like me, you've probably realized by now that happiness at this stage isn't about adding more. It's about letting go. So today, I want to share some of the things you might want to quit after 70 if you want a happier, healthier life. And don't worry, I'm not talking about the boring stuff like giving up chocolate or coffee. I'd never do that to you. I'm talking about the sneaky habits and mindsets that keep us from really enjoying the years we've worked so hard to reach. Stick with me, because I think you'll nod, laugh, and maybe even recognize a few things you've been holding on to that it's time to set down. Number 1. Forcing yourself into friendships that don't feel right. You know what's funny? When you're younger, you're taught that the more friends you have, the better. Your parents practically forced you to play nice with every kid on the block, even the one who always cheated at marbles. Then you hit adulthood, and suddenly you're juggling work, kids, in-laws, and neighbors, and you end up with half a dozen friendships that feel more like chores than joys. By the time you're in your 70s, though, you start to see through all that. Life's too short to waste time on people who drain your batteries instead of charging them. I read a comment from a woman who said she used to dread her weekly lunch with a certain friend. Every time they met up, she came home feeling smaller, criticized for her hair, her clothes, even the way she ordered food. One day she just thought, why am I doing this to myself? So she stopped. No drama, no explanation, just quietly reclaimed her Tuesday afternoons. She said it felt like she gained a whole new lease on life. At this stage, friendships should feel light. They should make you laugh until your stomach hurts, not make you second-guess everything you said. Think of it this way. Your time and energy are like fine wine. You don't pour it into a paper cup. You share it with people who savor it. And here's the beauty of it. When you stop forcing the wrong friendships, you make room for the right ones. Maybe it's a new neighbor who shares your love of gardening, or that guy in your walking group who tells the corniest jokes but always makes you grin. Or maybe it's reconnecting with someone from your past who still feels like home. The friendships that stick now don't require effort. They just fit, like a pair of slippers you've worn in just right. So if you've got people in your life who make you sigh when you see their name pop up on caller ID, give yourself permission to let that go. You don't owe anybody your time. Save it for the people who make you feel alive. 2. Eating just for convenience. Now let's talk about food, because oh boy, this one is a biggie. For a lot of us, convenience eating becomes the default somewhere in our 50s and 60s. You're tired, maybe you live alone, and the thought of cooking feels like too much. So what happens? Microwaved dinners, takeout containers, and cereal for supper nights. Hey, I've been there. Sometimes Cheerios really do feel like a gourmet option. But here's the thing. By 70, your body isn't as forgiving as it used to be. Remember when you could eat a greasy burger at midnight and sleep like a rock? Now it keeps you up burping until sunrise. And those frozen meals? Sure, they're easy, but they're often packed with more salt than the Dead Sea. I read a story from a man in his 70s who said he lived off frozen pizzas for a year after his wife passed away. He admitted it was easy, but he also felt sluggish, gained weight, and just didn't enjoy food anymore. Then one day, he decided to learn how to cook one meal well. He picked chicken soup. It took him a while to figure it out, but he nailed it. And suddenly, cooking wasn't a chore anymore. He said, "It was like feeding my soul as much as my stomach." That's the secret. Eating should be about savoring, not just surviving. Fresh vegetables, a little seasoning, a home-cooked stew that makes the house smell like comfort. Those aren't just meals, they're moments. And if cooking feels intimidating, start small. Maybe roast some veggies, whip up an omelette, or even just slice a fresh tomato with a sprinkle of salt. Your taste buds and your body will thank you. And if you want a little inspiration to get started, I've pinned a link for you in the comments with over 50 soup recipes tailored to different health benefits. They're light, comforting, and easy to digest. Perfect for those days when your appetite is low or when you just want to feel a little restored. Go ahead and check it out. You'll find something in there that feels like a hug in a bowl. And let's not forget the social side of food. Cooking a simple meal for a neighbor, joining a community cooking class, or even swapping recipes online. It's not just nutrition, it's connection. One woman joked that her cooking club wasn't really about the recipes. It was about the gossip and laughter that came with it. But hey, she learned to make a mean lasagna in the process. So quit treating food like it's just gas in the tank. Think of it like music. You don't listen to songs just to fill the silence, you listen to enjoy them. Meals should be the same. You've earned the right to enjoy every bite. 3. Skipping movement because of aches. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Easy for you to say, my knees sound like bubble wrap every time I get up. Believe me, I get it. Aches and pains can make moving around feel like you're dragging an anchor. But here's the tricky part. If you stop moving completely, those aches don't go away. They actually get worse. It's like leaving a door hinge unoiled for too long. Sooner or later, it squeaks louder and eventually stops swinging altogether. I'll tell you about Jim, a 72-year-old gentleman who admitted he'd practically set up camp in his recliner after retirement. He said his motto had become, "Why walk when you can wobble from couch to fridge and back again?" But eventually, he noticed he couldn't even make it to the mailbox without running out of breath. His doctor gave him a choice: keep sitting and watch his world shrink, or start moving, slowly. So Jim started with 5 minutes of walking a day. Just 5. He'd hobble down his driveway and back. It wasn't glamorous, but over time, 5 minutes turned into 15, then 30. A year later, he said he was walking 2 miles a day and felt like a new man. His joints still talked to him, but instead of screaming, they now just muttered. Here's the thing. Movement doesn't mean running marathons. It can be dancing in your kitchen while you wait for the kettle to boil, doing a few stretches while watching TV, or even just standing up every hour to walk around the house. I know a woman who swears by chair yoga videos on YouTube. She says, "If I can stretch without falling over, it's a good day." And you know what? She's glowing. The point is, movement is medicine. Not the scary kind with side effects you can't pronounce, but the kind that helps you sleep better, think clearer, and actually want to get up in the morning. And hey, if your knees creak when you move, just call it your built-in rhythm section. 4. Holding back your opinions in fear of ruffling feathers. This one is a personal favorite. Because let's face it, by the time you're 70, you've earned your stripes. You've worked, raised kids, survived heartbreaks, celebrated joys, and probably seen enough nonsense to fill 3 lifetimes. So why on earth should you keep biting your tongue just to keep the peace? I remember a story from a 74-year-old man who said, "I used to nod along politely when someone said something ridiculous, just to avoid conflict. Now, if you tell me the earth is flat, I'll ask you if you need glasses." He wasn't being mean, just honest. And he said it was liberating. Another woman shared that at family gatherings, she always used to force a smile and eat whatever was put in front of her, even if she hated it. Finally, she decided she'd had enough of potato salad that tasted like library paste. Now, if someone asks her what she thinks, she tells them the truth, with humor. "It needs more salt," she'll say, or "maybe next year I'll bring the dessert." And guess what? People actually like her honesty. They know she means what she says. There's something refreshing about authenticity at this age. You don't need to dress it up in layers of politeness. You can still be kind, but you can also be real. And the best part? It's contagious. When you start speaking your mind, others feel like they can too. Conversations stop being stiff and start being fun again. Think about it. You've spent decades holding back opinions to avoid rocking the boat. But now, You're the captain of the boat. If someone can't handle your truth, maybe they don't deserve a seat on deck. And besides, you're not getting younger. Why waste time saying what you think people want to hear when you could be saying what you actually mean? Life's too short for half-truths. So speak up, laugh at your own jokes, share your thoughts freely. At worst, someone disagrees with you. At best, you inspire someone else to finally say what they've been holding back. 5. Ignoring small joys because they seem silly. Somewhere along the way, a lot of us got it drilled into our heads that fun has to be productive. If it doesn't check off a box or impress someone, it doesn't count. By the time you hit 70, that lie has robbed enough years of simple pleasures. Now's the time to give yourself full permission to chase joy, even if it looks a little silly to someone else. I'll never forget about an old gentleman in his late 70s who started collecting toy trains again, something he loved as a boy. His wife teased him at first, calling it childish, but then she noticed the way his face lit up when he was tinkering with those tiny tracks. She said, "It was like I got my husband back." He wasn't just playing with trains, he was reconnecting with wonder. And listen, it doesn't have to be trains. I know a woman who sings to her plants every morning. She swears her begonias bloom brighter when she sings Sinatra. Her son thought she was losing it until he saw how healthy her garden was compared to his droopy tomatoes. Now he calls her the plant whisperer. These little silly things aren't silly at all. They're lifelines. They remind you that happiness doesn't only come in grand gestures like vacations or big celebrations. It's in feeding the birds at the park, painting a rock for the garden, or dancing in the kitchen while you wait for the kettle to boil. If someone else doesn't get it, that's their problem. You've earned the right to enjoy whatever tickles your spirit. I remember one uplifting comment from a 73-year-old woman who said, "The day I stopped caring if my neighbors thought I was odd for blowing bubbles on my porch was the day I finally felt free. Life after 70 doesn't need to be serious. You've carried enough seriousness already. Find joy in the little things, even if they look silly. After all, the people who laugh at you, half the time they're secretly wishing they had the guts to do the same." 6. Overloading your schedule with medical appointments. Here's a tricky one, because of course health matters. You want to keep up with your doctor, get the screenings, take your meds. But there's a line where healthcare can quietly start to feel like it's your whole life. I've heard seniors joke that their weekly calendar looks like it was written by a pharmacist. Monday, cardiologist. Wednesday, podiatrist. Friday, lab work. By the end of the week, you're not living. You're just waiting for your name to be called in different waiting rooms. One man said he realized he was spending more time in hospitals than in his own backyard. That hit me. He decided to start spacing things out more, only booking what was truly necessary and filling the rest of his week with what he called joy appointments, visits with friends, trips to the park, or even just sitting with a crossword puzzle and a hot coffee. His health didn't decline from easing up on the constant appointments, but his mood and zest for life skyrocketed. The truth is, while doctors help keep your body alive, it's joy and connection that keep your spirit alive. If you're exhausted from back-to-back medical visits, you're robbing yourself of the energy to actually enjoy the health you're fighting so hard to preserve. A woman I came across said she balances her doctor days with what she calls her fun days. She said, "If I book a dentist appointment, I also book a pedicure. If I see my GP, I also go out for pie with a friend." That's brilliant, isn't it? Instead of letting medical visits define her week, she makes them part of a bigger picture where joy has equal priority. So don't let your golden years become one long waiting room. Take care of your health, yes, but don't let it steal the show. After all, the best prescription you can give yourself sometimes is laughter, sunshine, or an afternoon nap. And unlike most pills, those come without side effects, unless you count smile lines. 7. Saying, "I'm too old for that." If I had $1 for every time I've heard someone say, "Well, I'm too old for that. I'd have enough money to buy us both a steak dinner. And here's the thing, it's rarely true. That little phrase shuts the door on possibilities before they even knock. I know of a 71-year-old man who finally went ziplining with his grandkids after years of saying he couldn't. He said he screamed like a banshee the whole way down, but when he hit the ground, he laughed so hard he cried. He admitted it was one of the best days of his life, and he almost missed it because he kept convincing himself he was too old. Now, maybe ziplining isn't your idea of a good time. Fair enough, but too old has been used as an excuse for far smaller things too. I know a woman who said she thought she was too old to learn how to paint. She told herself she'd look silly in a class full of younger people. But then she signed up anyway, and guess what? Half the class was seniors rediscovering their creativity. She didn't just learn to paint. She found a whole group of friends who shared her love of art and coffee breaks. Saying you're too old is like putting up a closed sign on your own life. It's easy, sure, but it cheats you out of experiences that could bring joy, laughter, and stories worth telling. And half the time, the things we think we're too old for are the very things that would make us feel young again. Dancing at a wedding, trying out a new hobby, taking a trip, or even just staying up late to watch the stars. So the next time you catch yourself saying, "I'm too old for that," pause and flip it. Ask, why not me? You might discover that the only thing older than your age is the excuse you've been carrying around. And hey, if you do try something new and it doesn't go perfectly, who cares? At least you'll have a funny story to tell. Because let's be real. I went ziplining at 72 and screamed my head off is a whole lot better than I stayed in and watched reruns. Again. 8. Neglecting sleep. Like it doesn't matter. You know what I've noticed? Somewhere along the line, sleep went from being this sacred thing to being treated like an optional add-on. Like, hey, I'll catch up later. But the truth is, nobody catches up on sleep. It's not like missing a rerun of your favorite show and just watching it tomorrow. When you miss it, your body keeps the receipt. And don't buy into that tough guy routine some folks pull. You know, I only need 4 hours a night. No, what they actually need is a nap, a chiropractor, and probably a therapist. Sleep isn't weakness, it's fuel. It's how your brain sorts through the chaos of the day. It's when your body repairs itself, like a handyman sneaking in at night to fix what's busted. Ignore that, and you're basically firing the handyman and hoping the roof doesn't cave in. And the irony is, when we're younger, we fight naps. You could put a toddler in a soft bed with lullabies playing, and they'll scream like you're torturing them. But when we get older, suddenly a nap is the highlight of the day. It's like winning the lottery, only cheaper. That should tell you something. Your body still wants rest. It always has. You're just finally old enough to admit it. So don't shrug off sleep like it's some silly luxury. Protect it. Treat your bedtime like it's an appointment with your own health. Because honestly, the nights you cut short, those are the days you end up reaching for extra coffee, snapping at people you like, and wondering why you feel like you've been steamrolled. Sleep isn't wasted time. It's the reason you have good time during the day. 9. Watching the news on a 24/7 loop. Now let me be real with you here. Watching the news non-stop is like willingly putting your head in a blender and pressing puree. Sure, it's good to stay informed. Nobody's saying go live under a rock and only come out for groceries. But there's a big difference between being informed and being inundated. These networks? They're not designed to give you peace of mind. They're designed to keep you hooked, wound up, and convinced that the world is one bad headline away from collapsing. And you know how they do it? By making every story sound like a 5-alarm fire. Even the weather forecast gets dramatic. Brace yourselves, folks. We could see mild winds this weekend. And suddenly you're stocking up on bottled water like a hurricane's coming. Here's the kicker. The more you watch, the smaller your world feels. Instead of noticing the bird that landed on your porch or the grandkid who wants to FaceTime, you're staring at strangers on TV arguing about things you have zero control over, and it chips away at your peace of mind. It's like opening the door every hour to let somebody dump a bucket of stress into your living room. So here's my suggestion. Put yourself on a news diet. 10-15 minutes a day max. Get the basics, then shut it off. Trust me, if something truly important happens, you'll hear about it. Neighbors, kids, grandkids, even the cashier at the store will let you know. Meanwhile, you'll be reclaiming all that mental space for things that actually bring joy. Go for a walk, listen to music, or heck, just sit outside and enjoy the silence. That's silence. That's the news your soul's been waiting for. 10. Thinking rest equals laziness. This one's a biggie because I think it's been drilled into us since childhood. If you're not doing something productive, you're wasting time. And somewhere along the line, we bought into that nonsense. But let me tell you, rest isn't laziness. It's the reset button your body has been begging you to hit. Think about it. If you never rested, your phone battery would outlast you. And phones get plugged in every single day without anyone calling them lazy. But when we try to do the same, put our feet up, close our eyes for 20 minutes, suddenly the guilt creeps in. Shouldn't I be doing laundry? Shouldn't I be mowing the lawn? Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is stop doing. And here's the fun part. Rest doesn't just mean napping, though I'll never knock a good nap. Rest can be sitting outside in the sun, listening to birds argue about breadcrumbs. It can be reading a book so slowly you reread the same paragraph 3 times and don't care. It can be laying back in your recliner and staring at the ceiling while your brain finally gets a chance to breathe. That's not wasted time. That's time well spent. Because the truth is, rest isn't the opposite of productivity. It's the fuel for it. When you give yourself permission to rest, you come back sharper, happier, and way less likely to snap at people who don't deserve it. And honestly, at our age, we've already proven we know how to work hard. We don't have to prove it anymore. Now's the time to prove we know how to rest well. 11. Sitting in the same old chair every day. It sounds harmless, doesn't it? You find that one perfect chair, the recliner with just the right cushion, the spot by the window where the light hits just so, or the end of the sofa where the TV remote always lands. Before you know it, that chair becomes more than just furniture. It's your throne, your headquarters, your everything. And while that might sound cozy, it can also turn your world into a one-seat theater where you're the audience and life is happening somewhere off stage. I read a comment from a man in his 70s who joked that he'd worn such a deep groove into his recliner cushion, he was afraid future archaeologists would mistake it for an ancient artifact. The problem, he admitted, was that the more he stayed in that chair, the smaller his world became. His body stiffened up, his days blurred together, and the only trip he took was from his chair to the fridge. When he finally made a conscious choice to switch things up, he was amazed at how it lifted his spirits. Instead of parking in the recliner all day, he started having his morning coffee on the porch, where he could wave to neighbors walking their dogs. He took his crossword to the kitchen table, so he wasn't staring at the same wall every day. On nice afternoons, he went to the park and sat on a bench to people watch. He said it was like breathing fresh air into his routine without even changing much else. Your chair may feel safe and familiar, but too much of a good thing can trap you. Move around, change the scenery. Even in your own home, sit in a different spot. It's amazing how a new angle can shift your perspective. One woman I know started taking her knitting out to the garden instead of staying in her living room. She said the colors of the flowers inspired her patterns. Same hobby, different seat, whole new joy. So don't let one chair become your whole world. After all, thrones are for kings, but you've still got kingdoms left to explore, even if it's just the backyard patio or the library down the street. So there you have it. 11 things worth quitting after 70 if you want more joy, peace, and a whole lot less stress. And the best part? None of these are about giving up the good stuff in life. It's actually the opposite. It's about clearing out what doesn't serve you anymore so you can make more room for the things that do. If even one of these points hit home for you, that's your sign to give it a try. Start small, notice the difference, and don't be afraid to laugh at yourself along the way. Because honestly, life's too short not to enjoy it fully. If you found this helpful, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe for more uplifting tips, and share this with a friend who might need a little reminder that 70 is just the beginning of a new chapter. Trust me, the best days aren't behind you. They're waiting for you to show up.